Hello my crafty peeps, it's Cheyenne from ecdesignstudio.com. Today is the first day of the Halloween One Sheet Wonder card series. So we're going to be making this card today, the mummy jar. Alright, so here's what we're going to need for it. We're going to need timeless textures. I'm using the little grid pattern, or graphene paper sort of pattern for the background of it. And then the Jar of Haunts stamp set. This is from the holiday catalog. You can order yours starting September 1st. This coordinates with the Everyday Jars framelit set. So we're going to use the mummy and the Happy Halloween sentiment up here. So you're also going to need the medium jar framelit from the Everyday Jar set. And I'm using the tags and labels framelit set. So we've got two sizes for our label. I'm not sure what the actual sizes are. Unfortunately, they don't come labeled or anything with sizes. Just, you know, one that fits around your sentiment nicely, and then the next size up to cut your frame around it. Alright, you're gonna need rich raspberry ink pad and your archival basic black ink pad, a blender pen, and the basic gray Stampin' Up marker, because we're going to give that mummy a little dimension. This is I believe it's the Halloween Night Baker's Twine. It comes in a duo. This is the orange and black one, and they've got the other one that comes. It's basic black and I believe basic gray is the other color in it, but the orange and black Baker's Twine. You need your stamp blocks. I've got my Stampin' Scrub, my Stampin' Mist off to the side. You have to have your card base. And I make most of my card bases out of Whisper White cardstock. So this was from a sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock, cut at 4 1/4. So it's like long ways in half. And then you score it at 5 1/2, and that gives you a top fold card. Been really liking the top fold cards lately. I figure I might as well go ahead and rock it. Alright, for our background mat, we need a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of basic gray cardstock. This was cut from a 12 by 12 sheet. In the holiday catalog, you can get a duo with the basic gray and the pumpkin pie 12 by 12 cardstock. Meant to go along with all the Halloween stuff, so it's good to have. Stampin' Up doesn't do a whole lot of 12 by 12 cardstock, plain cardstock. A lot of the designer series papers, so go ahead and pick that up. You're also going to need like a scrap piece of the basic gray. This one's just 2 by 1 1/2. It's for the background mat for your sentiment. Scrap sheet of Whisper White. This is 4 by 2 1/4. You know, just make sure it's big enough to stamp your mummy and your sentiment on. And this is the sheet from the One Sheet Wonder. It's 3 by 4. That's for our background mat there. You're also going to need your snail adhesive, your dimensionals, and we're going to cheat with putting the twine on, so a little bit of tape. Alright, before we get into making the card, this is the 12 by 12 sheet of paper, well, not this exact one, that I cut up to do the One Sheet Wonder. So it's got this orange and white stripe on one side, and the other side it's the little dots, you know, pumpkin pie and basic gray and stuff like that. So I'm going to flip it back over because that shows up a little bit better on the camera. So your cuts. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make a cut at 3 inches, and then 3 inches, and 4 1/2. And that's going to leave you a 1 1/2 inch piece on the side here. So the 1 1/2 inch strip, you're going to cut into 1 1/2 inch squares. All the way down, you'll end up with 8 of them. The 4 1/2 inch strip, you're going to cut it at 4 inches along here. And that's going to give you 3 4.5 by 4-inch strips. This 3-inch strip, you're just going to cut it at 3 inches, down to make 4 3 by 3 squares. And the last little 3-inch section, you're going to cut at 4, and you're going to make 3 3 by 4-inch pieces. So really easy. I tried to make it really simple so you didn't have to, go crazy with your measuring or turn it this way and that way and every other way. So, alright, put that aside. Let's start on our card. Alright, first step, we're going to do our stamping. So let's get our piece of Whisper White. We don't need that anymore. And let's get out our archival ink pad and our little jar mummy jar. He's so cute, or she, I don't know. So let's go ahead and stamp this up, make sure got a good image. Pop it down, even pressure. Sometimes it's a good idea to kind of just set it there, let the ink kind of soak into the paper a little bit. Pop it up. Oh no! That did not work out too well. There's 2 sides to the paper though, so it's okay. Let's try that again. Alright, that's looking good. One more time, let's go. Stamp. Nice even pressure. Just move my fingers around, make sure we don't miss out any of those wrappings. And there we go. That one's better. Clean up the stamp. I like to clean up as I go. It works for me. Alright, now we're done with the archival. Get out the rich raspberry.
Okay, so they'll just put credit towards that.
And yeah, stamp our sentiment at the bottom. Remember to leave room for, the framelit for when you cut it out. There we go. That was a good one. Okay. So that's that stamping done while we've got the rich raspberry out. Let's get our card base. I'm going to open it up and we're just going to stamp around here with our little grid mark. Get that adhered on good. So our grid mark stamp. It doesn't have to be, super nice and neat or anything like that. It is a Halloween card. A little bit of distressing is okay. I just kind of went around the edges.
They're not putting any money towards the solar panel. That's all I make. I'm not saying that.
And I filled it in. So you can leave it at that. Do other patterns and stuff. I like it when it kind of overlaps a little bit, gives it a little bit more interest. So, alright, I'm going to call it a day with that. Alright, put away rich raspberry. Put that aside. Let me get a little wipe to clean off that, because nothing worse than getting all spongy and inky. And it's hard to work clean that way, isn't it? Okay, next step. We need our big shot. So, we need a big shot. Let's get our things cut out. So, our mummy and our sentiment. I'm going to pop that on. This is the magnetic platform. A cutting sheet. And we'll layer up. Our framelits. Alright, and then we need our little framelit.
I don't.
There we go. Another cutting board on top. Feed it in. Don't be alarmed by the noises that your big shot makes. It's okay. Alright, I need one more cut. So again, the magnetic platform. Our scrap of 2 by 1.5 inch basic gray. Pop on the bigger tags and frame framelit. Another cutting board. Run that through. This is turning out to be a pretty quick and easy card. This isn't normal for me. Okay. So, we got our little piece there. Get that over. Out of the way. That's a scrap. Pop out our other pieces. Put these aside. Don't lose these. It happens. Just be careful where you toss those. You'll find them in the strangest places.
And then the guy who owns the
Okay.
the guy that owns the Hopkins house,
Here we go.
Northside Drive, or North Street, we recommend.
Alright, so let's go ahead, get a corner rounder. Stampin' Up! Does offer a Project Life corner rounder if you don't already have one.
Yep.
So it's probably more comfortable. This one starts to hurt my thumb after a while, so if you can get another one that's more user-friendly, go ahead. It's alright. Alright, so this, let's go ahead and use our snail adhesive on this so we don't end up misplacing it and losing it down the line. It's centered up-ish. Oh, there we go. That's that piece done. Now let's say hello to our mummy. Hello, mummy. Okay, I'm just going to grab my Stampin' Right Basic Black because you can see around the eye it didn't quite stamp solid. So this is one of the nice things about having coordinating stamp pads and markers and paper. You know, you can kind of fix up boo-boos. Alright, that eyeball is like really big. Let's narrow down that shine mark a little bit. So there we go. That's that. Fix that little oopsie. Okay, so now we're going to color with our blender pen and our Stampin' Right in basic gray. So we're going to get our acrylic block and we're going to use this as our palette. So I'm just going to scribble some of the basic gray on there and I'm going to pick it up with my blender pen. Now as the color gets off of the blender pen, you're going to get a nice graduated tone, so it makes adding shading pretty easy. And when you're shading, you want to keep in mind, like, where's your light coming from? What's on top? What's further down? So, you know, the mummy's eyes, the face, it's going to be a little deeper, so it's going to be more shadowed. It's going to be in there a little bit darker, so that's where you're going to want it to be darkest. And you see how that just made a nice little shading effect? So when I first put it down, it was darker, and then you just kind of work it out. If you're using the shimmer white paper or the watercolor paper, you can do a lot more blending with it. You can make it a lot softer because the paper's not going to start to peel up as quickly. This is just the Whisper White. If you're not as confident in your shading ability and skills, you know, maybe use the shimmering white or watercolor paper instead. So then you're just gonna go through, you know, figure this one's on top, so we're going to color in this one a little bit. And that one's going to be further behind, so it's going to get a little bit of a deeper shading. Alright, I just want to intensify this shade a little bit, so I'm just going to go through with another layer, softly around. Alright, this little piece of wrapping is going to be behind the top two, so that's going to get more shading. This one is behind that one on the front. A little bit more shading. This one's, you know, tucked behind there too. Alright, this one's on top, so I'm just going to go all the way down to all of these and get that shading going. And this one is below that one, and more shading. And you can also add a little bit more if you want to, you know, make the bandages feel like a little bit more like dirty and muddy. Okay. Isn't it so much fun watching someone color? Like watching paint dry? But, you know, maybe you can, you know, get your supplies, watch this video again, when you can, you know, do it with me in real time. We can craft together. It'll be fun. Craft with me. Alright, you know, these two, you know, they are on the top, but I do want to, you know, have a little bit of like that grungy feel going, so I'm just gonna give them a little bit of some, you know, distressed color, you know, like they've been, you know, buried and rolling around in the dirt for a bit. Oh, there we go. Alright, and then you just take, you know, to clean off your blender pen, you just, you know, run it along a piece of scrap paper until you don't see any more color come out. Alright, so that's all there is to that. Oh, there we go. There's our mummy with a little dimensional coloring. If you wanted to make your mummy really fabulous, you could pop over some clear wink of Stella on it to give it a nice little shimmer. I'm going to keep mine as is. I think there's enough going on. Alright, let's get our twine now. And our one sheet wonder piece and a little piece of the tape. Alright, one of the great things about working on a silicone mat, you can pop your tape there and it'll come back off and everything is fine. So, back side of the paper, I'm going to pop on the twine and we're just going to, you know, wrap it around a couple of times, you know, some, you know, little X's, you know, just give it a little bit of interest going. Oh, there we go. I'm happy with that. Give it a little cut and then use our other piece of tape to tape it up. And ta-da! Quick, simple, easy little twine accent. So I kind of like this technique too because you can kind of like adjust it and move it around as you need to. Alright, done with our twine. So you can also see I wanted a little something more to this, so I just took my rich raspberry Stampin' Up marker and did stitch marks right around the edges. So let's do that now. You know, I really feel like adding this little bit of stitching, it adds something. And you can do stitch marks or dots or, you know, a solid line if you're that confident in your ability to draw a straight line. Find the dots and the stitch marks, they do kind of, you know, hide a lot of sins. So if you got one kind of going wonky, it's alright. This is also something that, you know, maybe do it before you have the twine on. Might make it a little bit easier, but I like to live on the edge sometimes, or as I'm designing, I decide at the last minute that it needs something more, so, you know, this isn't the first time I've had to do something around an embellishment that I already have stuck down. Because that's how I roll. Alright, that's that. So let's get our snail adhesive and pop it on. Actually, we're going to use dimensionals for this. Alright, this one's going to be a little bit differently, because what I actually did with the other one was wrap the twine around both the DSP and the basic gray. And since we have this twine here, the snail adhesive might not stick it because it's a little bit 3D. So the dimensionals are going to go on this one instead of the other one. That's okay. You know, you're making a whole bunch of cards. Each one's going to be a little different. And this is going to show variation. Alright. Pop that on, then we're going to take our little mummy, pop on a couple dimensionals there, too. And you could get away with like 1 or 2 if you want. If you're sending it through the mail though, you know, anything that you're raising up on dimensions, you want to make sure you've got enough dimensions so it's not going to get bent and squished and all that. So keep that in mind. Alright, pop our little mummy right there. Let's get our card base now. Put some snail adhesive. Pop this kind of centered in the middle this way, but up a little bit. Go towards the top of the card so that we have room to pop our sentiment there. Alright, I think that's good. So we have our sentiment. Now what I did was put a Stampin' dimensional at the bottom so that it can be up at the same level as the top of this, but then I put snail adhesive along the top so it's going to lay more flat against the piece that's already raised instead of like being like wonky and funky. So pop that down where you like it. I'm actually going to pop that out so it's kind of over top. And there we have it. Our 2 cards. So these would be 2 cards from that 1 sheet of DSP. Let's see how many more we can get from that. But yeah, so that's it for this. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you. Happy crafting and creating. Bye.